when you little, that's the only song you can play.
Facts.
Because they won't let you get on a fast song.
No,
So
sir.
you have to learn how to play the ballads. So I fell in love with playing ballads, and I was one of the young boys in church that wasn't bored playing ballads. So that really helped me. So credits meant a lot. I was listening to these records and reading the credits and watching the pictures on the records. I don't know if y'all get involved in the vinyls. I was looking at records, listening to the records and looking at the pictures, and it felt like a video. It felt like I was watching the video because I was looking at the pictures and hearing what was going on. And it was just a fun period for me. So that started me off, and when I realized that I could really play, and started to take it serious, I thought I was gonna be a scientist. So I was winning all the science projects. My mom took me in the 8th grade, she took me out of the science school and put me in a Juilliard school in Dallas called Arts Magnet. And I was very upset at her. And lo and behold, she knew exactly what was going on. She was being led by God. And that's where my whole life changed. I started learning jazz, I started learning Latin, I started learning how to sequence on keyboards, I started learning how to play percussion instruments, I started learning how to read, and it just changed my life. It just opened up a whole new world for me. And while we were there, because of my roots was church, obviously we ended up leaving full gospel and joined the Kojic denomination, and I was going to UNEC every year, which is now Ames. At the age of 12, I think is when I started doing that, and that's a whole nother learning experience, you know, because the culture, the music culture, everything was totally different, you know, and so church is still right at the forefront of everything that I'm doing, and I ended up starting. I wanted to start a church choir at school, and so a group of my friends, me and a group of my friends, a guy by the name of Myron Butler, you might have heard of him before, Sean Martin and a couple of other people, we just started a choir at our school. And long story short, later on it became to be a choir called God's Property. And Kirk, we used to sing around town in Dallas a lot, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Kirk used to run into us, and he used to get freaked out by everything we was doing because everybody in the choir could play and sing and act. So we had this whole theatrical presentation. Basically, if you, the closest to what we was probably Ty Tribbett. If you add theatrical, like skits and stuff, to what Ty was doing, that's what we was doing on a regular basis. And it just kind of caught, and long story short, when Kirk Franklin got his deal, he signed us to his deal, and we did a record called Stomp. It blew up, broke all the records, and my professional career at that point started. And we went on the road, and we met a lot of people, did a lot of award shows, and it was a lot of learning experiences at the age of 19, 20, and I think I won my first Grammy at 21 from that record. And that was an amazing experience. And then I left that, I moved to LA, and I started playing with Snoop Dogg for about 10 years. And I started doing the pop world, the hip hop world, Snoop Dogg, Justin Timberlake, Celine Dion, the Zildjian Live, also the VF Jams, where I get to step outside of being a drummer and become a producer, an arranger, and a composer. And we can talk about all of that as well. But that's, in a nutshell, that's what I do. That's my life. I've never had a 9-to-5 job. I'm blessed to be able to say, I probably wouldn't be able to do it if I had to right now. I wouldn't know the first thing to do to sign a form or whatever, to even apply for one. But God has blessed me to where I've been able to make a living actually doing music full time. So that means that it can happen. Just for those of you who were wondering, that means it can happen. So that's me in a nutshell, and hopefully there's plenty more to come in the near future. My man, you had your hand up. Can y'all help me? What did he say? My favorite type of drums? Like the brand? Right here. It's Tama. That's easy. I play Tama drums. I've been playing Tama drums for 10 years now. This is actually Tama The brand was my first drum kit that I ever had when I was a kid. It was my first drum kit, and it was a Superstar kit. And ironically, this year was the 50th anniversary of Tama, and they re-released that kit in a limited edition, and I got a chance to get it. The first kit I had came back to me in a different form, but it came back to me, so it's really cool. I like Tama drums, and I play Evans heads, the world's greatest drum heads, and I play mono cymbals, which is, people don't know it, but it's the world's greatest cymbals as well. But Big Fur sticks. So I mean, but I'm saying all of that, and I'm talking noise, but I'm talking smack. But really, when it comes to sound, if you study what you're doing, you can make anything sound good. You can make any drum kit sound good. You can get great sound out of anything that you're doing. And it's all about what you hear and what you think is the best, sounds good to you. So, any other questions before I start playing?
Yep.
What's up?
How do you approach playing with a percussionist?
How do I approach it?
Yep.
Ears. So, in order to play with anybody, you have to use your ears. You have to be open to listen. You can't have tunnel vision in what you're doing. You have to be open and hear what's happening so that you can draw from it. So for me, I really believe that it's important to kind of take a back seat sometimes when you're playing with percussion players, because they can really inspire you to play. And I had to learn that the hard way. We was doing jam sessions and stuff like that, and percussionists be playing their hearts out, and most times in jam sessions, they're not mic'd.
Facts.
And they're playing with their hands, and they have to play over guitar players, guitar amps, bass players, and drummers. And I noticed a lot that drummers just wasn't even paying attention to a person they're supposed to be married to, it seems like. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be sitting over there, and there's all these rhythms going back and forth that no one's catching or grabbing, and the percussionist would be on an island. And so I had a godfather, one of my uncles, I called him a godfather, I had plenty of godparents, but one of my uncles was a percussionist, and he would come and just teach me, he'd come over and play Afro-Cuban patterns and just teach me how to play in and out, teach me about subdivisions, and teach me how to play with conga players. And at a young age, that was very inspiring to me. So that is how I gained respect for percussionists. Because if you tell the truth, we call it a spade. It's really about respect. You have to respect the musicians. If you listen, if it's 4 musicians on stage, if it's the bass player, I draw from all of those people. So I use my ears, and so the approach to them, the approach to a percussionist is the same as my approach to a bass player or a guitar player. I pay attention because you can draw inspiration, and the less you play, sometimes the more you gain. So that's kind of my approach to, you asked about that, but that's kind of my approach to everybody on the bandstand, including vocalists. You know what I mean? And when somebody tell you to go crazy, you can go crazy. But my motto is I like to play enough where nobody have to tell me to go crazy. Because pocket ain't always just 2 and 4 anymore either. So it's just about laying a feel down that, that crease, and those feels come from what's going on around you. So percussion players are the biggest inspiration to what I play, actually. So that's when you hear me play these tracks, you're gonna hear a lot of percussion in them because I'm drawn from that. That's giving me freedom to have creativity. So, not being in my head. A lot of times you practice. Practice is exercise, right? You practice so you can have the ability to do whatever, but I don't think so. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't have to keep practicing. But when you do practice, it makes whatever you're practicing permanent. It makes it locked. It internalizes it for you. And once you put it in there, it internalizes. It can always come out. You can always bring it out whenever you want to. So the remedy is just to put as much inside as you can. And when you do that and you continue to practice that way, when it's time to play, you ain't thinking no more. You just serving the music, and that's, to me, that's the best way to have freedom. Good question. Odd meters. Odd meters scares us for some reason. But this is, when I'm learning any song, the way for me to learn the song in the best, so that I can serve it the best, I learn the melody. Whatever the lead part, the melody is, I learn that. And once you learn that, you know the song. Because a lot of times we learn the rhythms first, and then we have the rhythms down, but then we don't know the song, or we don't know how to place that stuff. But I learn the melodies, because the melodies is, once you learn that, you know the entire song. And then everything kind of comes from that. Then I'm able to put, for me, odd meters, if you look at it from math, there's always a middle ground. There's always a half. And for me, because I come from church, funk world, I'm always trying to put a backbeat to something. So, for instance, if we say five is probably my favorite thing to do. I love the idea that you can put a backbeat to five. So if we count, I'll give you an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So the idea for me is on the odd signatures, time signatures, is to find the middle ground. And once you find that, you can play all around it. Because it's still just math. It all comes back around. It may come around the second time, but it still comes back around. You can always play straight through it, and it comes back around. So the object is really just not to be scared of it, not be afraid of. We always feel like we have to hit the one. We don't always have to hit the one. Sometimes you get more creative when you don't hit the one. And then more ideas come. And if you just trust yourself, it'll come back around. The one will come back around anyway. And then you'll hear it. And there's a pattern that you'll start hearing, and then you'll start playing from those patterns. So it kind of, obviously it comes with work. You have to do the work. You have to study, and you have to do the work, but that's part of practice. But yeah, that's my approach to it.